When teaching the come command, it's a good idea to associate the word come with all the good things in life that a dog enjoys. And these are things like tennis balls, food, and also play. So you can actually start off in play mode in your yard by bouncing the ball, calling the dog to you, and then throwing the ball. Or if you use food, then you can call the dog and give him a food reward every time the dog comes to you. So you can lay a pretty good foundation for the come exercise before you actually start the formal training. Now, the biggest reason why dogs don't come to the owner when they call is because usually the owner has punished the dog after coming there. Now, if the dog digs a hole and the owner gets flustered and says, "Come here, dog, you're a bad dog," the dog associates the word come with a harsh voice and punishment. Therefore, when you say come to your dog, the dog is not going to listen to you at all. The dog will stay away. So we're going to try Roxy here with some food. We're going to see how she goes. I start Roxy off in the sit position, run back a few paces and say the word come. When Roxy comes to me, I ask her to sit and immediately give her a food reward. I repeat this process several times and most importantly, keeping the happy attitude of the dog. Now, I'm using food in the foundation training of the come, but later on I'll be able to phase this out and Roxy will be able to respond to praise only. Continue this at home for a few days and you'll find the dog will come to you with a great attitude. We're now going to teach the recall. Recall means to return to the heel position. Let's have a look and see how it's done. When you do your recall, place the dog in the sit position in front of you. Now, walk backwards a few paces with your right foot first. Say the word heel, and when the dog runs in front of you, bring the dog round to the back and back into the sit position and praise the dog heavily for doing so. Now repeat this process several times till the dog has an understanding that when you say heel, the dog is to walk around you and be placed back into the heel position. Most importantly, keep up a lot of praise and keep a really happy attitude with the dog when performing this exercise, so eventually you say the word heel and the dog just spins around very quickly, sits next to you and waits for the next command. We're just about to take Roxy out for a first session in obedience. Now, what we're going to do is do a maximum of a 5-minute session. It is important that you keep a very, very good attitude. You can do this by a lot of praise, keep the dog happy, and just make it a nice, quick, fun session. Also, don't bore the dog doing one particular exercise over and over and over. Just change it around a little bit. Do a couple of sits, a drop, a stay, into some healing, another sit, a drop, and just keep going. So mix it all up so you can develop a really good attitude. So the dog learns all the exercises all in one go. Now, I'm not going to reinforce the training too much in the next few sessions for the simple reason is that at the moment she doesn't know how to do anything. So if she makes mistakes, it's not because she's being disobedient, it's because she doesn't know. So we're going to show her exactly what to do and guide her into all the positions, and over a period of time the dog will understand the exercises and later on we can then reinforce the training. So let's get Roxy out and just see how she performs first session. Now we're just starting off on Roxy's first session of obedience. I'm taking it easy with her to start off with, just praising her. Look at her tail, look at the big grin from ear to ear. She's very happy, so I am guiding her through the healing exercise. I'm constantly praising her and making sure she's very, very happy. Now here we go, we're stopping, a little bit of pressure on the collar and pressing down on the hindquarters, and I'll do about 3 or 4 of them in a row. There we go, into the sit, and a lot of praise to keep the good attitude. Now she's still got that grin from ear to ear, which is what I'd like to see. Okay, now here's the turns. I'm guiding her into the turns, a sit, and even more praise. Don't get too afraid of giving your dog too much praise. Praise is what makes the dog want to work for you. We're not after absolute perfection here. We're just showing the dog what we want him to do. Over a period of time, the dog will understand and be able to perform this without any problems. Now, the dog's placed in the sit. rub the dog's nose into the drop and say the word drop. Now I do about 3 or 4 of them in a row, and this is the first stage of the training. A couple of little corrections there. Place the dog back into the sit and a stay. Now the dog's staying there okay. I walk around and a lot of praise. Notice how that one was very, very quick. She seems quite content to stay there, so I go to the end of a 6-foot lead, touch her on the side of the face, go back to the heel position, there, and back into the sit. So she's starting to understand the exercise. Now if you notice here, she's starting to sniff around. She's starting to get a tiny bit distracted by other things. I call her to me, I sit her, and a lot of praise and a big kiss. There we go. We're trying to keep her as happy as possible. And a recall into the heel, and I get right down with her, place her into the sit, and even more praise. And this is very important with any dog, to give praise after every command. The most important thing is to keep the happy attitude of the dog. As soon as you've lost that, you've lost everything. You want to have the dog perform in the obedience because the dog loves you and wants to do the obedience. There we go. The dog has just broken the stay. The dog's back into the stay position again. I call her, she runs in, and I guide her up by just pulling on the lead a little bit, pushing down, and see this big scratch I'm giving her behind the ears. This gives the dog a good attitude and even more praise. Now I'm going to guide the dog in the sit, rub the dog's nose, and then a big pat. And I'll stop again, a sit, and guide the dog down, and the dog went to the drop. That's great. The dog looked like it was just about to get up then, and she sat up, so I put her back into the drop position. Now I've given her the stay command, I'm at the end of a 6-foot lead, and I'll even go back in to give her a big pat on the head and say, good girl. Now while I'm out there, I'm also saying to her, good stay, you're a good girl, Roxy, good stay. And this is so it reinforces the command for her. Bring her around for another recall and another drop. So if you notice, I'm mixing up all the commands. I'm doing a couple of sits, a couple of drops, a couple of stays, etc. And she breaks again. And by doing this, you'll find that the dog doesn't get bored with one particular exercise. We're just making it a light 5-minute session with all the exercises included. I've just walked around her, back in the stay position. She's getting distracted. You probably see her sniffing there. So she's distracted by a few things. Now I'm heeling off again, and another sit. And that's the end of the session. That's all it takes. A lot of praise, and now a big cuddle for Roxy. She did well. This was her first session in obedience. So I'm going to give her a big kiss and tell her she's a good girl. And that's all you need to do.